This is Business Today on ChannelEye, and on this program we talk about business, entrepreneurship and much more. On today's episode we're going to talk about textiles, sustainable chemicals and much more. And to do so we are joined by Malin Perera, Director Operations of Ecochem Bangladesh Private Limited. Good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening.
All right, so let's start off with your career, where you started and where you are now.
Well, my career spread around multiple disciplines. I started with my career from poultry to IT,
Okay.
IT to sales, sales to business, and I got my MBA in international business. Finally landed in Bangladesh as a business manager, working for a company called Ecochem Bangladesh. The Ecochem Bangladesh is basically a Sri Lankan owned company, joint venture with Bangladesh Partnership.
Right.
And I'm working in textile industry, catering for the textile industry.
Okay. And out of curiosity, what made you switch from the poultry industry to IT and finally textile? Was it a change in passion, or did you feel like you need to explore other ventures as well?
Basically, in my way of working is whatever the opportunity I used to get, I tried to explore it.
Great. Okay.
So I started as after, we'll say, coming out from the school, I started a poultry industry. I went into the poultry industry.
Right.
Then I got the opportunity to, well, say, follow IT courses and got the job opportunity in IT. Then I switched to sales.
Right.
From sales to, let's say, I got the opportunity in Bangladesh. So whatever the opportunity I got, I tried to fit into that and get the benefit out of it.
Right. Okay.
Right. Explore the opportunities out of it.
Right. And well, that's great advice as well. To take whatever opportunity comes
Exactly.
your way and make the most of
Yeah.
it. Now, when it comes to the textile industry and sustainable chemicals and eco-chem exactly, what made you at the end to stick with this company and choose this industry?
Stick in the sense where, let's say, once I joined this company, the perks are quite interesting.
Okay.
Right? And I got the opportunity to, let's say, serve this company for long. And the owners or the directors gave me the freedom to run the opportunity. And presently, under me, there are many Sri Lankans are working in Bangladesh. I could, will say, generate job opportunities for Sri Lankan as well in Bangladesh. So even we got our businesses in Vietnam, Myanmar, and Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. These are the countries we basically operate in this region. All right.
Now, coming to Ecochem, what exactly does this company do?
Basically, Ecochem, we have our range of products to the textile industry. And basically, there are two types of industries in that. Textile industry, you have the fabrics, then you have the garments and garment finishing. So basically, we cater for the textile finishing as well as garment finishing. So both industries, as a company, we cater those two industries.
Okay. And what does that sort of industry curtail? What are the daily operations like for you?
Basically, daily operations in the sense we'll say there are a lot of technological advancement. At the same time, there are a lot of changes in the customer's end. So what we have to do is we have to find solutions to support those requirements, customer needs. We have to support the manufacturers of textile as well as garments to cater to their business needs.
Okay.
So that is what as EcoChem we do.
And when it comes to the textile industry and mainly every industry out there, everyone's switching to a sustainable option and they're prioritizing sustainability.
Yeah.
When it comes to EcoChem, what was the reason to switch to sustainable chemicals?
Sustainable initiatives are, we'll say, it's a need of the day. So in every industry you can see the sustainable initiatives are there, and we'll say there's a big challenge in the world now. The global warming is a big challenge. That to cater the we'll say environmental impacts, to reduce the environmental impact, to sustainable chemicals are must to use. So what we do is basically we work with we'll say giants in the industry, right? And we work with them and we represent them to deliver the real technology. What the technology is required for the market, we work with them and deliver the real technology into the market.
Okay.
That is
and how much of a damage does textile affect or implement into the environment?
You cannot well say it's very difficult to measure it. We'll say every industry and any industry has a negative impact on the environment.
Okay.
So you cannot quantify the garment industry's damage is this much, and let's say plastic industry's damage this much, and the cement industry will damage this much. So it's very difficult to quantify that one.
Right.
So if you go to quantify it, it's a wrong we'll say evaluation, I would say.
Okay. And what are the ways of creating these sustainable chemicals and sustainable alternatives?
When it comes to sustainable chemicals and alternatives, let's say, so there are certain types of chemicals. Those are harmful for the toxic effect. It has a toxic effect to the environment.
Right.
So as much as possible, so we have to limit those toxic effect chemicals in the value stream of let's say the textile and the garment finishing. So we have to limit those as much as possible. The other thing is the usage of resources like water, electricity, energy. So we have to limit as much as possible in the value chain to we'll say to move forward in a sustainable future.
Now, when it comes to these sustainable alternatives, what are some of the challenges you face when switching to those options?
First thing is the sustainable options are much costlier. So it's reflect on the final product. And let's say the other one is certain technologies are not available. And the knowledge is in every part of the world, the knowledge also not available. So these are the biggest challenges at this moment we are facing. And the other thing is, we'll say, even though the willingness to achieve the sustainable goals, so willingness to achieve the sustainable goal also an issue. And the biggest issue is the industry is more tuned with our regular way of using the chemicals. So switching from those chemicals to let's say the sustainable options or the sustainable chemicals is, we'll say, much costlier. Even when it comes to the final product, achieving the real requirement of the customer need by the new set of sustainable chemicals, with that also a challenge. So that is the main biggest challenge what we face in this we'll say switching from regular chemicals to sustainable chemicals or sustainable processes.
Okay. Now, like you correctly mentioned, being costly is one of the biggest challenges, and we see that as a reflection of certain brands which are sustainable. Their products are really expensive. Do you mind telling us the reason why these sustainable options are more costly than the standard methods or the standard chemicals?
So basically, to sustainable methods, you need the technology. So technology always expensive. It has a capital involvement. So finally, it's reflect the final cost of the final product. So so these are the basically the biggest challenges we say as industry players we face.
Okay.
The other thing is sustainable, let's say, solutions or the initiatives, sustainable initiatives will say basically has came up without considering much of the cost factor. So to coming into the regular cost factor, bringing into the regular, it might take long period of time. So that is why still those sustainable initiatives are still, those are costlier.
Right. And well, hopefully towards the future we might see a reduction in prices so that people can purchase more sustainable products, I hope.
Anyway, what we would say is we cannot wait till the sustainable solutions to be cheaper.
Right.
Because we are in the 11th hour of the challenge at this moment when it comes to global warming, environmental pollution. If you take in every aspect, we are in the 11th hour of that one. So anyway, as industry as whole, so has to be move forward as much as possible towards the sustainable way of doing things.
Right, that's very true indeed. When it comes to foreign countries, and well, obviously they have more technological advancements in some areas than here in Sri Lanka. What are some of the foreign initiatives we see in terms of sustainable clothes and chemicals and etc.?
Sustainable initiatives, if you take, when it comes to initiatives, if you take EU has their own sustainable initiatives like REACH. And when you take the US, so they are having their own type of initiatives, right? And even if you take China, they are having their own initiative. Japan, they are having their own initiatives. So countries-wise initiatives are there. When it comes to Sri Lanka, I have not seen, we'll say, apart from the environmental authority, I have not seen any initiatives being implemented towards sustainability. Certain initiatives are there through environmental authority.
Okay. And when it comes to such initiatives, do you see any support from the government and other agencies as well? How is that? From government point of view, I have not much aware about what are the supports basically the government used to support this industry. Supports, I really not aware about it. But when it comes to regulations, the environmental authority takes up those regulations and they stick to those things. Okay. And how soon do you think these sustainable options, sustainable clothes and chemicals, textiles, how soon will they dominate the industry?
It's very, very challenging answer.
Okay.
Because the thing is, industry, if you as an industry will say, still moving towards that one, will say working with a time limit will be, will say predicting a time limit will be very unlikely to say that in this period or this time limit it will be implemented. The thing is, not only garment industry will say has whole, all the industries are more, I will say, focusing on sustainable, what you call sustainable initiatives, yes, right. Initiatives, and so they are moving, but we'll say it's very unlikely to say with the time limit.
Okay. And apart from, well, the textile industry as you work in, what are some of the other sectors or other businesses in which Sri Lankans can go to Bangladesh and explore or rather expand their business? What other sectors are there?
Let's say in Bangladesh, let's say it's a growing economy, right? So now let's say hospitality service can be, well, say Sri Lankans can really invest on those areas. And basically hospitality industries, Sri Lankans come, and apart from the garment industry, and also Bangladesh, let's say labor incentive country, they got much labor force and committed labor force. So let's say if Sri Lanka will say cannot find labor force in those industries, labor incentive industries, intensive industries, so we can we can establish in Bangladesh.
Right. Now, as someone who has been in the corporate industry, you might have definitely undergone a lot of challenges. What have you learned from these challenges, and what would you say to the younger generation out there to help overcome such challenges?
Yes, the main thing is whoever is coming to Bangladesh or any part of the world, they have to acquire the real skills from our own country, Sri Lanka. So if you have basics on the skills, so we can later on, you can learn on those skills and you can develop on your own in those countries, because a lot of opportunities are available now. Even if you take most of the Sri Lankan, we'll say Sri Lankan garment industry is almost dying over here. But whatever the knowledge you gather from over in Sri Lanka, you will be able to practically involve with those things, and you can excel your knowledge. Right. That is one of the reasons. And the main thing is the main thing you should do is basically let's say cultural alignment is much requirement when you are working in summary. The cultural alignment has to be there. Then only the correct acceptance is for you. So we'll say even if you see a foreigner coming into Sri Lanka and speaking in Sinhala, so he will be appreciated. In the same manner, if our Sri Lankans also will be able to, will say, align with their culture, so there will be a much acceptance from those communities.
Right, at least learning what to do and what not to do.
What not to do, yes. So cultural alignment. So if you think I'm a Sri Lankan, I should will say be as a Sri Lankan, you have to be as a Sri Lankan. You should keep those spirit with you. But end of the day, when you are working with them, so the cultural alignment is much important when you are working in any part of the world.
That's true.
Not only Bangladesh.
That's true. Very great advice. And when it comes to the future of Sri Lanka and Bangladesh relations in terms of businesses, how do you see the future?
Future, I really not have came across, will say, any initiatives, or the initiatives are there to take the real Bangladesh will say investment to Sri Lanka. So in government level or the top level or business delegation level, if they can really work on those opportunities, so if Bangladeshi people can come and invest in Sri Lanka, like Sri Lankans are going and investing in Sri Lanka, so there are lot will say multi-billionaires in Bangladesh. If you can will say encourage them to come and invest, and the main thing is the government and the other authorities has to make the will say groundwork, do the groundwork to come and set up those operations or the investments in Sri Lanka. It will be a great opportunity for Sri Lanka in future, and to come out from this economic crisis as well.
Right. and we can create an environment which will encourage foreign businessmen in Bangladesh to come to Sri Lanka. And you previously spoke about the return on investment being a little low in Sri Lanka compared to Bangladesh. How do you think we can maybe up those numbers in Sri Lanka?
So as I said, Bangladesh also a now growing economy.
Yeah.
So when time to come, there let's say there the overheads, all those also definitely go up. Then in one particular time, it can be almost similar to each other.
Okay.
Right. So that is we have to get those opportunities and try to get those business people as much as possible to Sri Lanka.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the young entrepreneur listening out there, what advice would you give to them?
Bangladesh, I would say, even when we went over there, it's a golden land. And it's a golden land as well as golden opportunities. And even if you take Bangladesh entrepreneurs, they basically, when you take it, those are, we'll say, first generation of business people. They have become billionaires in Bangladesh doing business in Bangladesh soil. And Bangladesh has lot of opportunities. It has the energy, gas resource, and also ample labor. You can get we'll say ample labor with, we'll say, what do you call, that is, I could call the committed labor force. They
Right.
got a committed labor force, and let's say whatever the labor intensive industries, if you want to bring it to Bangladesh, it is the best place for you to invest in the whole world. That is what that is the let's say the advice I can give. Let's say even in the garment industry, so who are pioneers in garment industry, if they can come and expand their business in Bangladesh, really they will be able to let's say get the real output from the business.
Right. Well, thank you so much for that knowledge and insight into sustainable chemicals and the apparel industry and the business environment in Bangladesh as well. That was Malin Perera, Direct Operations of EcoChem Bangladesh Private Limited. Thank you once again for being with us this evening.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me.
And that winds up today's episode of Business Today. Do join us next time as well. Till then, have a good night.
Other countries